All right, everybody, welcome back to the Surfside Recovery Podcast. I'm Brian Licata here alongside with Mr. Ian Koch. First and foremost, if you or anybody you know is struggling, please feel free to reach out to us. We got a million different ways you can get a hold of us. With the direct messaging on Facebook or Instagram, you're getting me or Ian directly. And if you get me, I send you to him. So you're pretty much getting straight to the man. You can give him a call at 609-709-4205.
Yeah, very good.
Yes. So yeah, you can do that.
You cannot text that number, by the way.
Yeah. Okay. You can't text the number.
It won't go anywhere.
Oh yeah.
Correct.
Also, if you haven't gotten a chance to check out our YouTube channel yet, Surfside Structured Sober Living, there's a really cool animation that I took some time along with Ian that really breaks down step one. So I'll try to put that link either in the caption of this video or some other way for you to check it out. So before this podcast,
Brian did the majority of the work.
Script writing, you did the script, right? We did this. We pretty much did the script. But yeah, it was really good. It was a lot of fun. It was the first time I've ever done any sort of animation project like that, and I think it's going to be useful. So
yeah, super useful. I think to families, parents, families. And we're going to try to do at least step 2 and step 3 for sure. Yeah, and then kind of see where we go from there. I know some of the others may be tricky, but. Definitely I know we can handle step 2 and step 3 for sure. Yeah, I
have them on my list of things to do now as far as developing a script for them too. So
I feel like all of our employees just have lists of things to do. Like it never stops. Beely's got them, Miranda's got them, Jared definitely has them.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of most jobs though. Like you're never really done.
I like to have things finished though.
Yeah, so do I. But the problem is like, all right, so this is my notebook, right? Today, CrossFit. It's the first thing on the list. That's right. Podcast.
You have no idea how happy that makes me.
Yeah. All right. So, I'll definitely, I'm a huge believer in working out now. So we started, what was that? The last week of May, like right around Memorial Day. So it's all of June, all of July, and into August. So I'm barely into probably my 8th or 9th week. Maybe my 9th week.
You're saying all of June and all of July.
Yeah, is what I've gone to.
So you've done pretty much 60 days, give or take.
Right.
40-something classes.
Noticed a huge turnaround. Overall, the first 2 or 3 weeks sucked. Obviously, I was super sore. Didn't really want to go, but kept pushing through it. But then after that, I've noticed, other than being in better physical shape, my endurance is definitely on the rise. The strength hasn't really come in too much at all. I'm definitely able to increase weights a little bit, not super heavy at all. I think that's also partially due to my body type too. I don't have a big frame or anything like that.
Tall, skinny,
I'm lean, so I'll probably never really be able to lift that much weight unless I put on a lot of weight too.
Yeah, you're gonna have to put mass on, yeah.
But the mental capacity, I think, has been much stronger. I feel myself like being a lot sharper too, and I don't know if like one has to do with the other. I'm sure it does somewhere. But all this week, actually, I went to the 8:30 class today because I was coming over here. And then I went to the 4 o'clock or the 5 o'clock class, 5 a.m. and then did the 6s before. And it's definitely a super fantastic way to start the day off, right?
How are you feeling with like some of those barbell movements that are like super awkward and frustrating for people in the beginning?
So today we did hang power cleans, and it was the first time that I really felt like I had the movement down. Squats, I was always pretty good with squats. The only thing that I don't really like doing, I got a bad right shoulder, so I don't really like doing a lot of those movements anyway.
Like when they go overhead.
Yeah, when they go over the head, I either drop down the weight pretty dramatically or like I'll do something else.
Sure.
But I don't like the split jerks. I don't like that.
Split jerks are awkward. I like to, I don't have, the way I want to do them is not the way you're supposed to do them. Heather always gets mad at me. I think Heather's one of the coaches. She always gets mad at me.
I think part of it too is our height too with stuff like that. Like it's really awkward for us to be in like a lunge position with something
long
over
legs.
Yeah, and it's just like your center of gravity is all off, and I don't have very good balance, I guess, for that same reason.
Yeah.
No. Getting back to the list though, it's like every day, me and you talk about stuff, or I talk to stuff with Beatley or something like that, and I write down, and then we get more ideas, and then what happens is like, I cross off half the list, and then half the list gets brought over to the next day, and then you add another half a list, and it just keeps going and going and going and going and going. Not a bad thing though. I guess that means we're getting stuff done, but you never really do get the satisfaction of something being complete. It's like with any of these videos, it's like, big hype up, getting the video done, and then you send it out, and then you're just working you're right into the next one.
Sure.
Oh.
It's like, just kind of to get back to CrossFit, I'd like rather talk about that. So this is coming out this week?
Sunday? Yeah,
like 2 days Sunday? Yep. Sometimes we record a couple ahead. So this weekend, Sunday, by the time this comes out, will be the last day of the CrossFit Games, 2019 CrossFit Games, which is like the Olympics of CrossFit. They're really trying to find the fittest man and fittest female in the world, which is really kind of a neat thing. So there's a bunch of workouts. Yesterday, Thursday, there were 2 workouts. Today, there's going to be 3 workouts. Saturday, there will probably be 3, and then we'll probably another 2 or 3 definitely 2 on Sunday.
Is it an elimination setup?
So is there prior, it was not an elimination setup. It was to some extent, but for the most part, it was not. Mm-hmm. There was X amount of people. I think it was 40 guys, 40 girls who, and I could be wrong because I wasn't actually paying attention when I started CrossFit. I didn't care. But it was something like 40 and 40 that competed the entire time. Mm-hmm. Then they switched the whole like qualifying thing around. So there's like a new process for that. And now it was 150 people in event 1 yesterday. After event 1, 75 of them were eliminated to 75. After event 2, another 25 people were eliminated. Now I think the morning event, so this morning, so it's Friday morning. So Friday morning they're doing a 6,000K run. So that's 5 miles. And then they add weight as they go through. After that event, I think another 10 people are getting cut. So it's kind of exciting. What's exciting about it is like, some of the athletes are like better at certain things. So, the person who's programming the workout, like he could, be spiteful and throw in like a really tough workout that he knows like one of the top athletes is really bad at. Mm-hmm. Like for instance, this guy, Patrick Vellner from Canada, is not the best swimmer.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I saw something that they had swimming in there too.
Oh my God, swimming, running, biking,
swimming,
powerlifting, rope climbing.
I didn't think that was a part of CrossFit.
The whole everything. It's CrossFit, right? There was even an event recently where they had to like get a gun and do like target shooting, which everyone was kind of thought was interesting.
What do they call that in the Olympics when
you run and then you like lay down and shoot stuff?
Well, they do it with skis too in the Winter Olympics.
Well, yeah, that's what they had to do recently.
I can't remember what that's called, but I think it's Seinfeld has a really good joke about that. Like why is this a sport? Like when are you ever
gonna do that?
Yeah, when are you ever skiing in Vermont and then you get down to the bottom of the hill and you got to hit a little target?
When I used to play GI Joes as a kid, we used to do that all the time. But so it's really kind of interesting to see how this whole thing is panning out, and I don't know where I was going. We got sidetracked with the laying on the ground and shooting things.
Yeah, were you circling it back to recovery somehow?
Nope. Probably not.
All right. So one thing that I was talking about, which I would actually like to hear your thoughts on this. So we talk a lot about the first couple steps. I had recently gone through my 4th and 5th step again, and I'm on a 6th step again with my sponsor. And I felt like the first time that I went through this step work, I kind of...
check the box, move on.
Exactly. Right. And this time I'm not doing that. So, he's got me like writing out, taking this huge list. So if you don't know what step 6 is, we're entirely ready to move, have got to remove these defects of character, something of the sorts. So what he has me do is go through like the patterns that I pull from the 4-step and from what we did in the 5th step together. And I'm like going to write this list down. And I was actually at a meeting the other night and they were talking about like why this is so important. And I think part of the reason why I missed it the first time is I just wasn't like capable enough to really understand what it meant, you know? Mm-hmm. And that was something that me and the old sponsor were talking about was that, man, me and you are not doing it today.
Because we both worked out this morning.
Yeah.
Sponsor, step 6. You guys were talking about the list. Whatever. So here's the deal with step 6. It's usually overthought. You were saying you couldn't like understand it early on. Mm-hmm. It's usually overthought. Mm-hmm. So there was a book that's apparently a very good book. I haven't read it, but a lot of people really, really enjoy it. It's called Drop the Rock. It's on step 6 and 7. Specifically, it's not written by any specific 12-step fellowship. It was written by a guy.
Okay.
People really like it. In the AA literature, in the main text, there is like 1 or 2 paragraphs on step 6
and 7, right there.
It's 2 paragraphs, 1 on 6, 1 on 7. Mm-hmm. In the other book, the 12 and 12, there's full chapters, and they have some full chapters as well. But I think initially, like, so when we look at like the history of 12-step recovery and how it all started, initially there were 6 steps, and then they put the literature together, and then they came up with 12 steps. And, the original, X amount of people who were sober kind of turned around and were like, dude, why all of a sudden do we have to do 12? Mm-hmm. That's BS. You know what I mean? Like we're happy with 6. We don't need 12. So like some of these steps that were added became these like segues. Mm-hmm. That wasn't, I don't want to say it wasn't the original program, but it was just not right. Like, so the history of AA specifically, AA was around for about 4 years prior to the book Alcoholics Anonymous being written.
Yes.
The term Alcoholics Anonymous is one term for 2 things. One is the fellowship. The other is
the book. Yeah.
The fellowship gave the book its name, basically, mm-hmm. right? Alcoholics Anonymous. We call the book the big book, but
on the title it says Alcoholics Anonymous.
The title is actually Alcoholics Anonymous. So what happened was, right? So like they were doing the thing for 4 years. Like people were getting sober, 12-stepping people, working steps, inventory, restitution. They come up with the big book. All of a sudden there's 12 steps, not 6. People have a conniption. And really what it was that they made some segues, right? They made it a little bit easier for people to understand it. And 6 and 7, I think, were really some of those. I mean, I know for a fact 6 and 7 were some of those segues. Mm-hmm. So initially in the book Alcoholics Anonymous, the paragraphs are very small. My gut feeling is there's 2 reasons. Number 1 is because they were initial segue steps and they didn't really know what else to write. Mm-hmm. But number 2, I think it's asking quite a lot. And it seems to get overcomplicated. Mm-hmm. So let me get a book. Talk about something quick.
Yeah. So when I first went through the steps this go around as I'm sober, I pretty much like overcomplicated and didn't really understand what it meant. And this process that I'm going through now, my sponsors outlined it extremely simply to me. So basically what I'm doing is I'm going back through my 4th and 5th step and I'm taking all these character defects, kind of writing a list and then bringing them sort of into, just a tangible list that I can keep into my awareness. And then the goal is, to try to form some sort of ideal of what I'd like to live up to. Almost similar to how people do sex ideals, like this is perfection, and I'm going to try to strive to get to as close to I can as I can get.
Just to clarify, a sex ideal is not how much sex you want to have. It could be, but a sex ideal is like,
watch the mic.
What do you want for a relationship?
Right.
You know, what are some things you're willing to look at?
How do you want to be? How do you want to be as a partner?
Like
what's important to you? Those
one
kind of
of
things.
the things, believe it or not, on and I didn't do a quote unquote sex ideal. I just did an ideal, but relationship ideal. But one of mine was a woman that doesn't wear pointy-toed shoes.
Why? What do you have against pointy-toed shoes?
I like pointy-toed shoes.
So does Alyssa have all rounded shoes?
She has a couple pair, but I mean, if you go look at the 7,000 pair of shoes that take up
1/3 of your room,
1/3 of our bedroom, our house, or whatever it is, not many are pointy, right? And I don't know if it was pointy-toed shoes specifically, but like you can actually tell a lot about a person's personality from their shoes.
Okay.
I would challenge everybody to start looking at people's shoes, their footwear. You can tell if somebody's laid back. You can tell if somebody's uptight. You can tell if somebody takes care of themselves, health wise. Typically folks who have, heavy mental health and tend to be disheveled, their footwear is falling apart. They're dirty, old, shoelaces are untied, holes in the soles. Snooty women that I would never be interested in. High heels, nails always done. No offense to those of you who are not. But like, there's a lot to be said. Where do you flip-flops versus what type of flip-flops? There's like,
where do you rank? I agree with you, by the way, that you can definitely like thinking about it.
When you think about it.
Yeah. I mean, there's a million and one different things you can use to kind of tell what type of person. Where do you rank overall like cleanliness and upkeep of a person's car relating to the personality?
I would think that's, kind of the same.
It's a fair assumption. Same thing like messy bed, messy head sort of philosophy.
Similar.
Got it.
Certain circumstances that doesn't necessarily count, like, like I'll say my van is much cleaner and more taken care of than the truck.
Right.
Because the truck is like a work truck. I mean, like Dan's using it today. Other people use it.
Right.
It's
like in and out. Gets trashed by everybody.
There's holes literally through the bed. You can see through it to the ground. It is what it is. But anyway, so the sixth step, I'm on 10 pages off. So what it says is, if we can answer to our satisfaction, what? So on the previous page, on page 75, there's a series of questions. So the way it's outlined is that you write your fourth step, which is like your moral inventory, resentments, fears, conduct. Obviously, then you do your fifth step, which is where you admit to another person, this is the truth of who you have been.
Right.
Not who you are, but who you have been leading up to that day.
Correct.
Ideally, you get out all your secrets, whatever that looks like. Then it says, returning home, we find a place where we can be quiet for an hour. So we go home, we're up to some place, a lake, a whatever, a place where we can be quiet. We sit for an hour and we do some reflection. There's a series of questions. We reflect over the work that we just did. Basically, has it been solid? Is it thorough? Are the quote unquote stones properly in place? Right? It says we're building a foundation. Or it says we're building an arch through which will walk a free man, right? Earlier in the literature, step 2, it talks about a cornerstone.
Keystone, cornerstone.
Keystone
foundation.
In third step, foundation in the 12th step, right? We're building this thing. So it says if we can answer to our satisfaction, right, that the inventory was thorough, that leading up to this point, everything we've done has been thorough. And then we look at step 6. We've emphasized willingness as being indispensable. Are we now ready to let God remove from us all the things which we have admitted are objectionable? That's question 1. Question 2, can he now take all of them, every one? 3, this is not a question, this is a direction. It says if we still cling to something, we will not let go. We ask God to help us be willing. That's it.
Yeah, and when you're 3 months sober, you're like, yeah, sure, what the hell?
No problem. But the truth is, like, that's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal, and it requires a lot of work. It's not just just going to happen. It's not a passive act.
We're talking about
literally how you've been acting your entire life.
Yeah. So step one, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol or drugs or whatever it may be. Dash, our lives have become unmanageable. Do we really surrender to this? Mm-hmm. Like, am I really convinced that I'm in deep shit? Is what step one is.
Right.
Step 6 is the exact same as step 1, but it's in relation to my behavior with other people.
Yeah, rather than actually drinking or using
Correct.
drugs.
Have I been convinced, am I convinced that I am selfish, that I am dishonest, that I cheat, that I lie, that I try to manipulate, whatever it may be, right? Mm-hmm. Am I really convinced of these things?
Right.
AKA, like it says, do I admit it's objectionable? Mm-hmm. Right? Am I willing to let go of these? Maybe not.
Right. Yeah, it talks about that in the 12.
I mean, there's
a
lot of guys who get sober who like to sleep with lots and lots of women. Mm-hmm. And don't mind cheating and don't think that's a problem.
Right. Yeah, then it really all boils down to, like, you know, what me and my sponsor talk about is like, you know, it's kind of up to you. It's up to you how you want to live your life. Like, what do you value? You know, not everyone values the sanctity of being in a relationship with one individual person. Some people don't care, or some people don't. That's not how they roll. Yeah. Which is whatever, you know.
Sure.
You know, some people don't value, you know, he always gives me the example, like, you know, a person who's a, you know, career criminal or career thief doesn't value honesty.
Correct.
They don't see it as a problem.
Correct.
So it's a matter of molding the value. It's really finding out what kind of person you want to be. It's, you know, 1 through 5 is finding out who you were. And then 6 is trying to figure out who you want to become and then how to get there.
I wouldn't even go that far. I would say it's more of like, have you surrendered to what you were?
Yeah. Okay.
Like, have you given up?
Yeah. All right. Yeah. That might be a better example. Or better.
If we still cling to something, we will not let go. We ask God to help us be willing. So that's where we then take that into the prayer and meditation life. Like, oh, you know, God or whatever you're praying to, you know, please help me to become willing to be a different person.
Yeah.
But because if we've done an honest, thorough 4th and 5th step, like, we may not want to change, but we should see what's what. Like, it should be really abundant. And I think for a lot of people, especially who are new, like, some of the stuff, you know, like little things like being dishonest, you know, stuff with work, you know, there's so many things that it takes time, like, for people, like, you know, for me, you know, one of the things that, like, I wasn't willing to let go is, like, was spending money, my spending habits. You know, I got tattooed probably every other week for months in early sobriety. And I didn't care. Like, I didn't care that I lived paycheck to paycheck. You know, I was very, very happy with that. I wanted to spend money. I was spending it on stuff that was not drugs and alcohol. I felt okay about it. It made me feel good. Who cares?
Right.
You know, at some point, fast forward a bunch of years, you know, I was taking a bunch of money on student loan debt to get tattoos and buy sneakers and also, and I didn't care. Mm-hmm. You know, I wasn't even praying about the willingness because I didn't at the time even think that it was objectionable.
Right. You didn't think it was a problem.
At some point, you know, 6 years sober, I turned around and I realized it was objectionable.
That sucks.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah. A whole lot of debt. Yeah. You know, 47 grand in debt, not counting student loans, because I was really careless with how I spent it, you know, spent money. You know, for me, it was very much like I never had the intention of paying any of it back up until then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it was very much like, I can pay the minimums, so who cares what the debt looks like?
Right. Yeah, of course.
You know, and I was okay with that until I wasn't. Mm-hmm. And at that,
what do you remember? Did something specifically change? Was it kind of like I guess maybe like a slow realization or what? Yeah, I know. There's yawns going all around this room right now.
I don't know. I mean, we were about to get married. you know, like I had a master's degree. I was a licensed drug and alcohol counselor. Like I was making okay money, but I was kind of living paycheck to paycheck.
Right. You just kind of realized something wasn't right.
Yeah. Like it was just not, I was starting to get to the point of like, I really do need to kind of prepare for my future.
Right.
You know, and it's funny because I talk to so many parents and, you know, it's like one of their concerns. They're always so worried about their kid, like saving money, and like, it'll get there when it gets there, you know? And I think like worry about them staying sober. Like if, you know what I mean? If they want to, we have a guy that I love dearly who's getting ready to leave and he's got some stupid tattoos. Whatever, like who cares? Like it's not going to kill him. Like he's not getting high. Yeah. I mean, I had to get this whole one arm completely redone because I did the same thing.
Oh, really? Know? That's what that robot arm?
Yeah, which is not only as horrible, but it was really bad the first time it was done.
You don't like that?
No. But whatever.
That's a shame because it's your left arm.
It's my whole entire left arm. So like I get it. You know what I mean? Like I've been there. I you know, so like, you know, he was letting somebody tattoo him for free who's been tattooing literally for 5 minutes. You know, but like I pretty much did the same thing except I paid for it. He's actually
he's getting a better deal.
Yeah, he's getting the better deal. I don't, you know, I kind of don't blame him. However, whatever, it is what it is. So, you know, but it just got to a point where like enough was enough, you know, and I wanted to be different. And I think like the sixth step is really starting to look at like, okay, I need to move in a different direction.
It's kind of like putting that, like the psychic change into action more or less in some way. Yeah. I think I really, I think I benefited from having gone back out so many times to when I got in this time. Like I didn't have that 6-year waiting period of fucking around with like credit card. Like I learned my lesson before that happened. So, it kind of set me on a positive trajectory this way. So before we wrap up though, we forgot to do something at the beginning of the podcast, and that's talk about this shirt. We've been talking for almost a half hour.
What about the tattoo that you got?
Oh, she doesn't believe you.
She does.
It's on my back, Ma. So
he does, Gail.
I would like to say a big, very, very huge thank you from myself to Jake Dietrich and his mom. They got me this shirt, and if you haven't checked out Jacob's music before, you can find them at Jake Cobain. That's JaCoBinx on Instagram. Although others, he's also acted in a music video by this guy named Casey Makes Music and Jordan Meyer Music in Connecticut, and there's an awesome music video out there. You don't like the video?
Not at all.
Okay, well, whatever. I think it's a cool video. Ian doesn't like it. Whatever. What do you think about the shirt, though? Because Mrs. Dietrich paid good money to get me this shirt at
She's
Marshall's.
A sweetheart.
She is a sweetheart,
I'll
right?
give it a 10.
Yeah, thank you. Wow. First one, 10. It's in the books. It's in the bag. You heard it here. Also, if you or somebody you know...
Hold on. Are we taking a break?
What do you mean?
Like for a couple shows?
Well, what do you think? I don't think it's a bad idea.
So we might take a break.
Yeah, we may or may not take.
Could do the Stevie Wonder,
like a little seasonality type.
We might
break.
take a break for a couple episodes. We're waiting for this office to get finished up. I don't know.
Yeah, well, why don't we do that? We'll play it by ear. We may or may not have an episode next week. We're not sure yet. But in the meantime, if we're not producing podcast episodes, make sure you go to sobernj.com. And we have a bunch of original content blogs that are super informative. I think it's one of the best things we do. You know, other than obviously the videos are great. The blogs are fantastic. There's a bunch of stuff
on there. It's not about. Yes, technically the website is hosted on our Surfside Structured Sober Living website, but there's a ton of like really good information, just like current event stuff. I also want to say very briefly, if you're a parent that is on Facebook and utilizing Facebook groups to get help, that is a horrible idea, number one. Number two, please contact a licensed counselor, social worker, somebody. Do not seek help through these Facebook groups. There's a whole bunch of nonsense happening, a lot of really, really shady things going on. And there's tons of information on the web about why not to do that. We don't have time to talk about it now, but just as a warning.
Cool. Thanks for watching. 609-709-4205. SoberNJ.com, @SurfsideNJ on Instagram, Facebook, yada, yada, yada. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.